Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Friday, June 7th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Akron game in 85 days, the game against Michigan in 176 days. Ohio State just wrapped up its second camp of the summer. One of the biggest names who is probably going to be at any of these camps all summer was at Ohio State on Thursday. It's Marc Givler. No, it's not Marc Givler. Marc Givler was there following Jahkeem Stewart around pretty much all day. Jahkeem Stewart, the number one player in the class of 2026 for now. And generally at these camps, there's hundreds of kids out there. You can generally tell the high power conference level prospects from the other guys, from a little bit of a distance. This is one where before he even walked out, across the room, the big indoor facility, it was just kind of like, oh, I bet that's Jahkeem Stewart. And yeah, that was Jahkeem Stewart. He kind of, you look at him and you go, yeah, that looks like a guy who's probably the number one overall player in his class.
Yeah, he's impressive. I had several parents kind of stopping me, asking me who he was, and I was trying to explain to people who he was, and dominated today, did all the drill work, did all the one-on-ones, didn't, get the superstar treatment or whatever. He went and did everything out there today. So it was a very rewarding workout. I got to talk to him afterwards. Building a great relationship with Larry Johnson, has a great relationship with Lau and Clark, because they're both from the same part of the country. So, I even talked to his coach about, this is the second visit in 2 months. I said, what does that mean? And kind of the answer was, well, his time's valuable, and so he's going to go where he's interested and seriously considering going. And right now, Ohio State looks to be one of those schools, along with USC and LSU. Those three seem to be the ones that maybe have the most traction, and they're the ones getting a lot of the visits.
Well, and it feels like a lot of times we see guys come up to camp with Larry Johnson because if you're the guy who was Joey Bosa's defensive line coach, Chase Young's defensive line coach, Nick Bosa's defensive line coach, that carries a lot of weight with guys. Did he have anything to say about working specifically, the opportunity to work with Larry Johnson in this kind of setting?
Yeah, I mean, that's what he wants to get better. He wants, he told me he relishes the opportunity to do these types of things and learn and get better. And he said, him and Larry Johnson had a good relationship out there. He said, but he mentions Coach Clark too, just because they've got such a connection from their time from being from Louisiana. And just like he can speak to him in kind of a language, in his language, so to speak.
French. The language is French.
Cajun,
yes.
But yeah, so just that was a big part for coming up here. He said was to do the workout, because he did come up in the spring and kind of do a lot of the other stuff.
All right, so that's. Oh, and you know what? I was going to ask you about him reclassifying. I know that's sort of been lots of rumblings about that. Was there any sort of indication from him as to whether he was seriously thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, he gave the same answer he gave us on Southern Swing, which is essentially he's letting his coaches worry about that, and when the time comes in a few months to actually have to make that decision, he'll sit down with his coach and they'll talk about it. That's his on-the-record public comments.
Yeah.
Do I think he's going to reclassify? Yes, I do. He is taking the coursework to do it. That doesn't mean he has to, but he's taking the coursework to do it. I tend to think by the time things start to get going here in the fall that he's going to understand that I don't know what's going to be left for him in high school, unless he just wants to go to senior prom and do the other high school things. I don't know that there's a whole lot left for him to really develop. He's about the most physically developed defensive lineman I think I've ever seen at this stage. I mean, it's crazy. He's like 40, 50 pounds heavier than Chase Young was at the same age.
Yeah. He looks like a guy who should be thinking about his second NFL contract and not starting his potentially junior year of high school. It is remarkable to see him in person. We have a long-standing idea that it is the year of the tight end, and it is always the year of the tight end. Never more, though, than in the present year, 2024. Today was kind of the day of the tight end at Ohio State camp. 2025 commit Nate Roberts was here. Got a chance to see him work. A bunch of 2026 tight ends as well. I mean, that was an impressive group, and that's an area where they're going to probably be looking to bring in a guy or two still for 2026, obviously. So, who are some names that people should know?
I'm afraid to do the 2 tight end class because I do it every year. Because it seems like every year they need to, and then somehow something happens, and maybe they do or maybe they don't take 2. But it's just like every year they're going to take 2 tight ends. But once again, here we are, and very possible. It's going to be hard to turn some of these guys away if they can get them. Brock Harris, a big-time player, arguably the nation's top tight end. Corbin Fordham, if we're talking guys who I think Ohio State's got a really good chance with, Corbin Fordham out of Jacksonville Bulls, 4-star prospect, tons of offers, has an offer here already, had it before today. That's a kid that just walking around here looked very excited to be here, had the Ohio State pullover on, then unzipped that, had the Ohio State shirt on. He was all about it. He made sure the coaches saw it, and Corbin was having a blast here. So I think that's a guy they can get. I think that's a guy they want very much, and so that's definitely a name to watch. But there were 5 or 6 good ones here today.
And Corbin Fordham was just one of the guys from the Bowl School down in Jacksonville. That is a very talented group. Other side of the ball, there's a defensive back with some interesting ties to Ohio State.
Yes, Simeon Caldwell, Tim Walton's nephew. And we joked about this on Southern Swing. Someone told me, yeah, it's Tim Walton's nephew. This was several months ago. That's Tim Walton's nephew. I said, oh, they must have a good relationship. Like, that's his buddy or whatever. Like, no, that's actually Tim Walton's nephew. So that's a nice in for Ohio State. Simeon's another kid who talks very highly about Ohio State. Again, making it back up here. He's been up here several times just throughout his youth and everything else. And so he's a kid I think Ohio State can get as well. He's a safety right now. Could maybe be like a walkout linebacker at the next level, and possibly like a Sonny Styles type of linebacker. So he's a guy to keep an eye on. I think they've got a great chance of getting him as well, and not just because he's Tim Walton's nephew. He has a lot of genuine interest in Ohio State. So, and again, with Corbin Fordham being a teammate there at Bowl School in Jacksonville, that makes everything a little more comfortable for everybody.
And he's a 26, correct?
Yeah, both 26s.
Looking at him, he does have kind of that Sonny Styles frame where he's just like noticeably bigger than a lot of other guys, just taller, wider shoulders. So you could potentially see, potentially growing into a linebacker or staying at safety there. Last spot, did want to touch on real quick. I know it is not the spot, this is not the position group that is going to drive everyone to click on this video. Top 2 kickers in the class of 2026 were at Ohio State on Thursday. They actually had like 7 of the top 11 kickers in the country. It was an incredible group of kickers. Jonathan Hewitt, who is an in-state prospect for 2026, he's ranked the number 1 kicker in the class. Haran Zurkat, number 2 kicker in the class of 2026. Both of those guys got a chance. The kickers went before everyone else, so I got to sit out there and get pictures of everyone and watch everyone. And I mean, there's some serious legs. Jonathan, the in-state prospect, number 1, hit a 57-yarder in high school last year. So this is a legit leg. It's a position group where you're not necessarily rushing out to offer guys who've just finished their sophomore year.
2 kicker class, Tom?
I'm going to guess it's more likely they have a 2 tight end class than a 2 kicker class, but you never know. We'll see how the roster management goes between now and then. But yeah, just a couple names to just kind of file away. Not no offers yet, but definitely people who are potentially in that picture for Ohio State and special teams moving forward. So that was our camp look at camp from Thursday, end of week 1 at Ohio State summer camps. We'll be back here next week for 3, I think.
Back-to-back days.
I think it is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. So very busy week. And again, lots of interesting prospects. You get to see a lot of guys, get to talk to some folks, get some inside information. So always good to be back out here, and it's nice to be back at the Woody after a little bit of an off season, and a nice reminder that the season is right around the corner. And with the season right around the corner, this would be a great time to become a member of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Father's Day is coming up. I will remind you, Father's Day coming up in just over a week. If you are looking for a gift for dad, or if you are a dad who is looking for someone to give you a gift, well, how about the gift of an annual membership at BuckeyeHuddle.com? Right now we've got doing our annual membership sale, saving about 40% off the cost of an annual membership. You get access to our whole team of insiders. Kevin and Tony and I cover the team, Mark covering recruiting, our whole team of X's and O's gurus, plus a really fun and lively board, the Huddle Board, presented by Jeff Ruby Steakhouse. That is all at BuckeyeHuddle.com, so sign up today. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.